J-A-R, just a revolution. Hello guys, it's Revolution. So, apparently, my evaluation on God Fusion Goku is stupid. Apparently, the Daishinkan has been debunked. They're just a robot. In his 5th installment of his Goku vs Superman All Versions series. After watching it, I found the arguments completely farcical, and I did consider ignoring Just a Robot's video, as my mind was telling me no. But my body's telling me yes. I don't want to rob nobody, but there is something that I must confess to you. I don't see nothing wrong with a little frost from behind.
No, don't worry. The whole video is not going to be in that robot voice. I concede when it comes to a battle between being a robot on a YouTube channel, Just a Robot smacks Revolution. I can't bear doing that voice any longer. But of course that's not what this video is about. I have no intention of becoming an online robot. This video is to tackle the fact that Just a Robot decided to include and feature part of my Cosmic Armored Superman vs God Fusion Goku video in his All Versions of Goku vs All Versions of Superman video, where he essentially called my argument stupid. Now, I don't know Just a Robot. I've never spoken to the guy or the guy behind the robot avatar, so I don't know if he was being intentionally disrespectful. So I guess it's irrelevant, because essentially by featuring my video in his video and calling it stupid, featuring my voice, not even naming me or shouting me out for that argument, is effectively calling me out. Now, I don't particularly follow his channel. I know he did release a video on its anime girl months after the fact that I'd already decapitated her, so he basically kicked a dead dog. And quite frankly, if I wasn't reading some of my comments through some of my recent videos, I would have had no idea he did this. So I haven't seen his full 5 episodes of Goku vs Superman. I'm only addressing his argument against my argument about God Fusion Goku. So I'm going to dissect and dismantle what I can only really explain is a toothless and futile argument downplaying God Fusion Goku. So let's take a look at what he said. I'm sure he has no problems with me featuring his video in my video, as he had no problem featuring my video in his video. Let's bounce.
I just cut him from the video. For Super Doom, who's a fusion between Superman Doomsday, or Super Brainy Doom, who's a fusion between Superman Doomsday and a virus from Brainiac, well, I want to give them their own video. I always wanted to start an animated series kind of like Death Battle, and I want to do Super Doomsday versus the fusion of Goku and Vegeta. Vegeta Magigagagog.
Oh dear, so I guess that means you've got a history of getting Dragon Ball characters' names wrong. Well-known Dragon Ball character names as well. It's Vegito and Gogeta.
I think I pronounced it right this time. Now for the last version of Goku I missed. The big one. God Fusion 4D Goku. God Fusion 4D Goku. God Fusion 4D Goku.
Yeesh. That's not God Fusion Goku, mate.
Now I know this version of Goku isn't canon, but as I said before, a version of Goku or Superman doesn't have to be canon for me to use it. They just have to be officially licensed.
In Dragon Ball, what people often refer to as canon is Toriyama's continuity. Of course, God Fusion Goku isn't from Toriyama's continuity. It is licensed though, and canon isn't really a major thing in Dragon Ball like it is in comics in the Western world. The God Fusion Goku attraction ride is licensed material, licensed by all the major players involved with Dragon Ball, and is a story unto itself. It's essentially canon to itself.
That being said, I think God Fusion 4D Goku is completely overrated.
After a pretty shoddy start, I'm hoping he's going to start making some valid points now.
So the reason why people believe 4D God Fusion's Goku is above people like Cosmic Armored Superman and Milkman Man Superman is because Cosmic Armored Superman has some fourth wall awareness. He can tell when the reader is moving the comic book page.
So I just want to point this out, that Just a Robot has indeed recognised that Cosmic Armored Superman realizes he is in a piece of fiction and that the audience are overseeing his story. A hyper story, I guess you could say, but fiction nonetheless. And the reader that is above his fiction is, well, me and you, the person reading the comic. Essentially, the audience, and Just a Robot has just acknowledged that.
And Milkman Man has entered the real world and forced people to drink his narrative milk.
Certainly an embellishment. Whilst I acknowledge that Milkman Man is by far the strongest version of Superman, and by the way, Milkman Man is included in my video, the 15 strongest Goku vs Superman all versions video. By all means, check out that video if you want to know how highly I rate Milkman Man. What Milkman Man did affect in the Doom Patrol story, which you can easily find online, by all means check it out because it's not hard to find. He influenced a family that was supposed to depict a real life family to drink his narrative milk. Sure, but that family were an avatar of a real family. They are still a fictional family. They are avatars at best. Now that may be confusing, but don't worry, I'll put that into perspective. But not only does Just a Robot embellish that particular argument, for some reason uses scans of Milkman Man fighting against a character called Cave Carson. Cave Carson certainly isn't a member of the audience. I guess you could say he is a ye-old character in the library of DC characters that's essentially been forgotten. The writers have literally explained that's the reason why they used Cave Carson in the first place. I would highly recommend in the future that you use accurate scans to advocate your point.
But 4D God Fusion's Goku has even more fourth wall awareness. In fact, he fused with the audience himself, causing him to go beyond the fourth wall.
Yep.
However, he is pretty featless. In fact, this fourth wall feat really doesn't prove anything.
Yikes. The fusion itself is the feat. As we have seen time and time again in Dragon Ball, when fusing...
Vagiga Magiga. I think I pronounced it right this time.
Nope. But they get vastly stronger each time they fuse. It's essentially a plot device to allow Goku and Vegeta to fight against enemies they simply cannot beat. Not only does it put him at audience level of power, it even powers up the audience member via fusion. As Just a Robot previously just established with the Cosmic Armor Superman story, the member of the audience, me and you, are beyond the fictional verse.
For one thing, from people to Mr. Mixel-Pitalik.
Mixel-Pitalik? You mean Mr. Mix-Yes-Pitalik?
To Batmite, to Fat Albert, to Homer Simpson, to the Smurfs, to...
Wow, I didn't realise robots could get sore throats. Whilst he clears his throat, Mr. Mix-Yes-Pitalik and Batmite did make it to the real world once. Whilst I would advocate that it was a gag scene, even if we took it hyper literally, Mr. Mix-Yes-Pitalik and Batmite could not cope in the real world and left at their earliest convenience. For the record, if you didn't happen to know, they are fifth dimensional characters. Fat Albert is a gag comedy, The Simpsons is a gag comedy, The Smurfs is a comedy set in the real world, and wait for this one guys.
Live action Sonic. Live action Sonic. Live action Sonic.
So basically, the upcoming live action Sonic movie is basically that, a live action movie. And the story is just simply set in the real world, hence the reason it's called a live action movie. For example, Jim Carrey, who is depicting Dr. Robotnik, or Eggman as some people call him now, isn't a real character. He's still a fictional character being played by a real life human, Jim Carrey. There is a big difference between a story set in the real world and a story, a fictional piece that acknowledges its dimensionality within its own verse, but then it also acknowledges that it has an audience reading upon that piece of fiction. I'm absolutely flabbergasted that I even have to say this, but the story in Sonic, the verse in Sonic, even though it's depicted in the real world, isn't real. Sonic doesn't exist, Dr. Robotnik doesn't exist, neither does any of the characters in Smurf 2. The live action Sonic movie also has an audience that is potentially the same audience that could read the Thought Robot Superman comic, could visit the attraction for the God Fusion Goku ride. This argument was simply an attempt to move the goalposts and it is simply a false cause fallacy.
Entering the real world doesn't really mean anything. At best, I would say it would give you an extra dimension, and that's about it.
So what you're saying is that by fusing with a fictional piece, not only does the fictional Goku that's fusing become a fifth dimensional being, that I become a fifth dimensional being as well? That's not it, Chief. And guess what, guys? He's about to contradict himself.
But I hate to break it to you guys, the, real world exists in the third dimension.
By this logic, that would make Thought Robot Superman a two-dimensional character, because we perceive the comic characters as two-dimensional. So by his very own logic, he is saying that Thought Robot Superman, an F3 character beneath him in the DC multiverse, is two-dimensional because the audience member is three-dimensional. After all, Just a Robot has literally only just said that fusing with an audience member only elevates you to one higher dimension. Unfortunately for him, he hasn't recognised with fiction we are supposed to suspend our disbelief and accept the story being told to us. No matter what dimensionality the verse is said to have in the fictional piece, the author, the editors and the audience are all above that fictional piece.
It's not infinite dimensional or beyond infinite dimensional or anything like that.
Yes, but if a verse has been stated by an author or a writer to have infinite dimensionality, the audience member still transcends that infinite dimensionality. It's all about levels of infinity.
You have to look at author's intent. The 4D God Fusion Goku movie was made as a cute little gimmick, not to show how powerful Goku is.
Whether it was to serve as a gimmick or not is irrelevant. The author's intent was to have Goku break the fourth wall by using the power of the Dragon Balls and fuse with an audience member, thus creating
the big one, God Fusion 4D Goku.
The author's intent was to have Super Saiyan Blue Goku, who was getting utterly piped by God Broly, to transcend his own fiction and fuse with an audience member.
If you want to just ignore that, you also should look at context. In the DC universe, there's the multiverse, Bleed Space, God Sphere, Monitor Sphere, the Source, and so on and so forth.
Hang on a minute, why are you stopping there? There's more beyond the source wall. What about the overvoid? The page itself. That's a convenient bit of information to miss out, mate.
Redcon Corp can delete the entire DC universe if they wanted to, and that includes the Presence, who's considered to be the god of the DC universe.
Yes, the fictional representation, the avatar of the Retcon officers in the Doom Patrol stories can do that. But the DC multiverse has actually been explained as a dot on a page, the overvoid. Cosmic Armoured Superman and everybody you consider to be beneath him all reside somewhere on this dot. Now, as Just a Robot cannot suspend disbelief, I will do it for you. Just because they're on a dot on a page doesn't mean they are two-dimensional characters or two-dimensional verses. You suspend your disbelief and you believe the story they're telling us, and we know that there are multiple dimensions in the DC multiverse. But as the DC stories themselves acknowledge that they are literally on a page and the reader of this fictional verse, me and you, exist in a plane beyond it. The Milkman story is in fact a rogue narrative. It is beyond the DC multiverse, but it still resides on the page.
But they can't remove Milkman Man. In other words, he's beyond continuity itself. Don't get me wrong, the Dragon Ball universe is impressive. It is a small multiverse, and those universes are more than universes. They're macrocosms. So I guess you could say it's a small cluster of multi-macrocosms. And it has alternate timelines on top of all of that. But that's nothing compared to what the DC universe has.
Whilst I agree with him that till this day, based on the information we have, the DC world is far bigger than the Dragon Ball world, he is still downplaying the Dragon Ball world. The Dragon Ball world isn't just 12 universes. Those 12 macrocosms reside on top of pillars surrounding Zeno's mansion in Zeno's realm, which is significantly bigger than the 12 universes itself. But I agree, the DC world is significantly bigger, though it's irrelevant in this argument.
And the other arguments I've heard about 4D God Fusion Goku are just, well, Just plain stupid.
Grant Morrison or any other writer for DC Comics could go and visit this attraction and fuse with Goku.
No.
Well, hey, that was me. So basically, he featured a clip from one of my videos that ultimately, to any objective thinker who truly understands the concept behind God Fusion Goku, who understands that you suspend disbelief with fiction, that understands that the audience, real life human beings, transcend the fiction they're reading or watching, that the clip of mine that Just a Robot featured in his video actually proves God Fusion Goku is beyond any fictional character. Unfortunately, Just a Robot cannot comprehend this. His personal incredulity has led to a sense of the Dunning-Kruger effect. So for those of you who do not understand, let me put this into perspective. Super Saiyan Blue Goku, who was getting utterly smoked by God Broly, used the Dragon Balls, the power of the Dragon Balls, a fictional magical device, to break the fourth wall and fuse with the audience members. The result,
The big one. God Fusion 4D Goku.
is emerging between Super Saiyan Blue Goku and the audience. The same potential audience who could read Doom Patrol, who could read the Cosmic Armored Superman story, who can watch the live action Sonic movie, who can watch the Smurfs 2, who can watch Dragon Ball Evolution, who can watch Smallville the TV series, who can watch the live action Superman movies. You literally see the audience members using the Kamehameha themselves. They themselves also represent God Fusion Goku in this scenario. That's the difference between that and an avatar of a real world people in a fictional verse. And there is no reason why Grant Morrison couldn't attend the God Fusion Goku attraction, or the writers of Doom Patrol, or even Donald Trump. Anybody can attend this, anybody can fuse with Goku. You don't have to like it, you don't have to accept it. For most people it breaks their conventional rules of power scaling. I can empathise with that. I take no pride in saying that God Fusion Goku is the strongest, because it is a silly concept, but it exists. Now, if you own the physical copies of Doom Patrol or the Cosmic Armored Superman stories, I'm going to give you a task. Have a fight with that comic. See who wins. Well, guess what? You can go and fuse with this version of Goku. Anyway guys, dismantling those arguments was pretty easy. He really didn't help himself by lacking consistency with his arguments, showing the wrong images and sources for his arguments, and ultimately projecting his personal incredulity on the matter. Anyway, let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. If you haven't subscribed, smash that subscribe button. Keep lending the die shanking your energy. Keep smashing that like button. Until next time, Ad Astra.
I'm back, bitches. Just a revolution. If you need me now, you'll take away the biggest part of me. Ooh, baby, please don't go. Ooh, baby, please don't go.